Good morning. Welcome to Private Property Show, the Cayman Islands Real Estate Podcast. I'm Mr. Powery, your host, and today, from Coconut to Boggy Sands Club, we're going to be breaking down the property valuation process with the help of a very experienced professional in this field. Stay tuned. We're coming back with a lot of information for you. See you soon. Property valuations are a key procedures on any real estate transaction, and today we're going to learn a lot with our special guest. Ladies and gents, let's welcome Mr. Oliver Williams from DDL Studio.
Good morning, Mr. Perry. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
You are most welcome, Oliver. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to come and share your knowledge with us and with our audience. But before we go straight to the point, let's let everyone know who you are, what company you work for, what your company does, and let us know, give us a little background on where you come from.
Sure. Well, I work for DDL Studio. We've been around for 20 years. We're a multidisciplinary practice doing valuations, quantity surveying, interior design and architecture, for example. Myself personally, I have 16 years experience in property and 8 years here in the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Well, that sounds very interesting, Oliver. That sounds very interesting. It makes you a very experienced voice, a very authorized voice to talk about this topic about valuation. Okay, let me ask you what is property valuation? What is this? Because we all hear about property valuations most of the times, and we have no idea what it entails. What is this?
Well, for anybody that owns an asset, whether it be land, their home, an apartment, for example, if they need to understand the value of that asset, that's where we come in, and we're able to tell them the market value of the property, whether it be for mortgage financing, whether it be because they're considering selling, for example. There's various reasons why they would want to engage with us to have a property valued.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. So I hope you guys are watching this video today are aware that we're talking about property valuation with Mr. Oliver Williams from DDL Studio. And my next question to my guest is what people would have to consider when they want to add value to the property. We can hear a lot of comments on the street as people say, okay, well, I want to increase the value of my property. What should I do? What are the elements that valuation companies or that affects the valuation of the property at some point? What are those? How that works when the evaluator come to the property and do the evaluation?
Well, it's a very good question. I mean, first impression is key. So if a valuator pulls up to the property and the lawn is unkept, the garden's unkept, and obviously that doesn't create the first good impression. So keeping the landscaping neat and tidy, the first impression is key. And obviously there's basic things like keeping your property well maintained, having it painted, having it tidy when we arrive on the site. In terms of adding value, clearly there's things you can do, such as updating the kitchen, updating the bathroom, floor tiles, these kind of items. They all assist in adding value, keeping the property modern.
Okay, we have heard a lot the stories that if you want that for example, that fruit trees add value to the property. How much really having a lot of fruit trees on your yard add value to your property?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of an old school thought process. Whilst having fruit trees is great and being able to produce your own fruit is beneficial, the figure cannot be quantified. We cannot say having X amount of mango trees will add X value, but it certainly helps if you have these in your garden.
Yeah, I also have understood that apart from whatever you do in your property, the comparables on the area, that's how it determines somehow. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, when we look to value a home, for example, a house, We'll look for properties in that area which have sold very recently that are broadly a similar size, and then we'll compare the properties as they're called comparables, so we'll compare them and adjust for the differences. So, for example, if you have two identical properties, one has a larger yard than the other, for example, then clearly the one with the larger yard will be worth slightly more. And it's these sort of factors that we look into when we're adjusting in order to determine the value.
Okay, Oliver, I have heard also that many years ago, some time ago, when the property valuation was, when the report came, it usually was valued, the land was valued separately from the property itself, from the building. But I don't think that's happening anymore. Is it, or some companies work differently in some areas? Just tell me your input on this regard.
That's an old method of valuation, which basically the banks no longer accept, and our governing body, the RICS, no longer advise using, because there are certain factors it doesn't take into consideration, such as the sort of area, the surrounding area, for example, as the old saying goes, location, location, location. So in order to get the best idea of how much properties in that particular area sell for, the best thing is to use actual sales evidence from that area.
Okay, all right. Well, that sounds very interesting. That sounds very interesting, and it's very informative. I'm pretty sure that we are learning a lot today about all this with you here, Oliver. Okay. Another thing that many clients sometimes struggle to understand is a valuation report. Sometimes, I mean, it's for anyone related to the topic, anyone familiar with the topic, it would be very easy to understand maybe the 27 pages report. but for somebody, let's say somebody that's not related to the industry and has to do a property valuation and receive the report, it's somehow hard to understand what is going on, what all that means. So let's try to make it simple. Just try to make it simple for the audience to understand, and then whenever they have a question, they might reach out back, to you in this regard. But let's try to break down which are the most important parts on the valuation report and what that means. What means these parts?
Certainly. Well, the market value within the report, that's effectively how much we believe that the property is worth. So in instance, that's how much the bank will lend against that first figure, the market value. The bank will lend on that figure. That's also the figure that we believe, if you were to put your property for sale, that's how much we believe you would achieve. Then next on the report, you will see a market value with a restricted marketing period. Now this is a figure which causes a lot of confusion. Effectively, all the banks ask us to include that figure within the report. They won't lend against that figure from the outset. What it means, effectively, is that if the property falls into a foreclosure situation and the bank wishes to dispose of that asset within a shorter time frame than usual, what discount would they need to apply to the market value, which is the big figure? Depending on where the property is, the condition of the property, it can be anything between 5 and 25% of that market value, the big figure.
Okay. No. Now, I've seen different other companies mention doing adding in the report. That's what you say, special market assumptions.
That's correct.
And that's why, because what happens is that sometimes the valuation comes from two figures.
That's correct.
One, the lower price and the higher price. So what people need to look at?
Well,
they look at that report.
Effectively, the high price.
The high price is the value.
That's the
so
value.
The lowest price is what the bank is asking,
yes,
which is the market value with the special assumptions.
That's correct.
Which is usually like from 10 to 20%. It varies, it varies depending on the company that does the valuation, but yeah, and that's what it means. So it means that if the property that a person is purchasing through the bank go to foreclosure, that's where the bank can sell the property for in order to recover the money.
Yeah, I mean that's correct. I mean certainly in the market we've just experienced here in the Cayman Islands, there does not need to be a huge discount because there's so much demand for the property. So if the property was to be foreclosed and the bank wishes to sell, there's no need to discount because the market's so buoyant. But again, it depends on where the property is, the condition of the property. For example, properties in the sister islands may take longer to sell than the properties, say here in Grand Cayman, so the discount may have to be greater. But the bank doesn't take any consideration of that figure unless something goes wrong, unless the property does fall into foreclosure. So it's nothing to be concerned about when someone receives a report. The lower figure, the second figure, shouldn't concern them, and it won't concern the bank unless something bad happens.
Okay, do you hear that, ladies and gents? When you receive your valuation report, if you see two figures, one is going to be the market value, that's the profit, that's the value of your property at this moment. The second figure is going to be probably a little bit lower than that. Don't be scared. That's something that the banks request to the valuation companies in order to know what to do in the case of the foreclosure. So, and that's sometimes called market value with special assumptions or special restrictions. Okay, something else that you need to consider when when you receive your valuation report is related to the insurance. How that works, Oliver?
Yeah, so as well as your market value and your market value with restricted marketing period, within the report you'll also have an insurance reinstatement cost, which is for insurance purposes. So what that means is effectively, if your property is, say, partially destroyed by fire, how much would it be in today's market, with today's construction costs, how much would it be to knock that building down and rebuild it to today's codes at today's prices? So that figure is very different from the market value, which often causes confusion because there's different elements included within the insurance cost, but often it causes confusion because of the difference.
Yeah, so I think we have talked about a broad amount of things on today's conversation, and please let us know where people can find, how people can contact DDL if somebody wants to get a valuation on the property, how people can contact you, how people can contact DDL, and to make any question arising from this conversation that we are having here now, or whenever they need it.
Yeah, of course, we have our website where you can find all our details if you want to discuss any valuation matters, but also we do construction estimates and that kind of thing, so we can help. Effectively, DDL can guide you through all the way through from buying a piece of land to building a house to designing the interior. DDL Studio can provide you with all those services, and you can find our details on the website.
Oh, that's great. That sounds great. I'm sure we're gonna show all the details, numbers, website, links, and everything. We're gonna show it down here. So for make it easier for you to reach out to DDL in the case you need property evaluation. That's all, ladies and gents. We have had a conversation with Oliver William from DDL Studio. And if you like this content, if you like this information, the information we share with you all today, please share this video, like or follow us on all social platforms. You're gonna see them down here as well. And subscribe to our YouTube channel for more information. And leave in the comments any question that you might have for Oliver or for us. Leave in the comments your suggestions on what you want to see displayed or discussed on this podcast, which is ready for you all. This is all, ladies and gents, for today. I am Mr. Powery, the host of the Private Property Show. This is the Cayman Islands Real Estate Podcast. Thank you very much, Oliver, for being here. Thank you very much for watching us today. See you next time.